Unified Corporate Solutions Enhancing Business Payment Ecosystem. Please help me welcoming our moderator on stage, Miss Neha Gupta, Managing Director and Partner, BCG. Very warm welcome and let's have a big round of applause, please. Welcome, ma'am. We have here with us Mr. Hitesh Sachdev, Head Startup Engagement and Investments, ICICI Bank. He will join us shortly. Oh, he's right here. Okay, he's right here. Very warm welcome, sir. Very warm welcome, sir. Please help me in welcoming Mr. Paritosh Kashyap, President and Head, Wholesale Bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank. Very, very warm welcome to you, sir. Now, please put your hands together for Mr. Siddharth Rungta, Managing Director and Country Head, Global Payment Solutions, HSBC India. Very warm welcome. It's such an honor to have all of you on this very stage. I request you to please take your seats. And over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to panel 1 for today. Good morning to all the panelists. So the theme that we have for today's panel is Unified Corporate Solutions, Enhancing Business Payment Ecosystem. I'll pick up 2 phrases from the theme. One is, the entire corporate solutions, and the second is the payment ecosystem. Let me start with the first, the corporate solutions. I think if you look at it, corporate is a sector which is re-emerging as the biggest battleground in banking again. Whether I look at a capex cycle which is returning, and with it not only gets corporate loans, but also the cash flow-based financing, very tightly integrated in the supply chains. The war for liabilities has been going on for the last 2 years, and it continues to intensify. Actually, corporates help us get access to a larger deposit pool in a different way. And then finally, as pressure on NIM keeps coming in, fee is a big mover for a profitability perspective. And how do we do that in the corporate world? So holistically, we are moving from corporate products to solutions. I think this is a known trend in the industry for many years. How does it come into play as the payments solution develop is what we are here to discuss today. The second phrase that I spoke about was, payments ecosystem. I think all of us are aware of many innovations that have happened on the retail payments, of course led a lot by the UPI system. We also saw the launch of the unified lending interface. But not many of us are very well aware of all the innovations that happen on the B2B or the corporate payment ecosystem side. And that's the other part of the story that we will explore today. So, without much ado, maybe I can request all of you to have some opening remarks on how you are seeing this play out, the evolution of corporate solutions and payments.
So, thanks Neha, and welcome to all of you for this panel discussion. We are very familiar with retail payment system. It moved from physical to digital to instant. And while globally the payments, the B2B payments are $125 trillion, while the consumer payments are significantly lower than that. But the development on the corporate payment system has been much slower. While we have moved from physical to scan to digital and now more integrated system, it is still not instant. It is still not a unified view to corporates for all their accounts, for their group company accounts. The cross-border payments have their own set of problems. So it's still a long way to go. But if you look at from the bank's perspective, this is extremely critical, and especially in the given circumstances when deposits are becoming a challenge. There is so much talk about deposits. Even my driver was asking last week, "Sab kuch barabar hai na bank mein, deposit nahi mil raha hai kya?" So much of talk of deposits, and that's the time we need to really see how do we get. We can't run the bank by borrowing wholesale and lending to corporates. We have to really get granular deposits, either retail or corporate, which has to come from providing right payment solutions to them, right cash management tools to them, which is when we can really get the right balance of CASA in the banking system. Another interesting feature that we should keep in mind that when banks invest in technology to make it efficient for corporates, which is also part of hygiene, it actually hurts the bank's CASA. So we have to really work far faster to ensure that we catch up on our liabilities while we make it better for the corporate system. I think there is a lot to do on the corporate payments system in the country. I'll probably.
I think what innovations have happened in retail payment ecosystem. I think B2B corporate ecosystem has to catch up. Simple example, when we talk to the CFOs who are the custodian, the primary anchor for our relationships, right, where and they decide on everything, right. So they struggle actually, basics also. For example, if they have let's say banking limits with some 5 banks, everything is on the Excel sheet, and every time they have to kind of go through where my limits are available, what are the charges of each bank, and then prioritize, and then decide which bank. And this is all manual today. There is no one worldview which one gets in terms of about the limits, about the utilization across this. Yeah. So they are very very basic stuff, right? I mean, where cash flow management, on a daily basis. And when we look at corporate, I think in my sense, I think there are 3 parts to a corporate, right? We need to look at it from all those 3 angles. One is the corporates, vendors and suppliers. That is one area where a lot of payments are being made in different forms and formats. The second biggest the payment which is being done by the corporates are to their employees, which is in form of salary and other allowances and other charges. So I think when we look at corporate, if we dissect this into 3 broad areas, and then we think about providing some kind of innovative solutions to each of these verticals. And I think large part of innovations which we are seeing on the corporate B2B side is around a lot of customization, right? I mean, whether it is connecting to their ERP, host-to-host connection, or connecting to their payroll, they're all largely customized kind of work which has been done in the industry. And somewhere I think how on the retail side there is a unified ecosystem in terms of payment which has emerged. I think there is also a play for on the corporate side as well, right? So I think these are a couple of areas where we feel there are a lot more opportunities. If there are any startups in the room, probably you can pick it up. This is a big area waiting for disruption. I mean, and then one can choose some of this and build a huge business model around this.
Hi, good morning, everyone. First, quite privileged to be here and part of this esteemed panel. I pretty much agree with whatever Paritosh and Hitesh had said. Just a few things to add and maybe a slightly different perspective. Being a global bank and obviously working with a lot of global corporates along with Indian corporates, one thing what we see is that every corporate is on a different journey, okay, when it comes to their digitization or how they're really managing payments in their ecosystem. But to generalize, I think it's very important, and probably that's something we as a panel can delve upon, is really looking at what are the macro trends. So take a step back and see what are the macro trends which are really shaping the corporate's ecosystem. And eventually that has a bearing on how the interaction within this ecosystem is happening, including payments. So just to kind of lay out there a few macro trends. One is obviously the digitization of commerce. What we are seeing is that there's a growth in digital economy. In fact, a recent World Pay Global Payments report put the number on digital commerce for 2023 at $3.1 trillion. And the same is expected to rise to $5.4 trillion by 2027. And I think we're seeing the same in India, and for probably a faster rate of growth when it comes to the rise of digital economy. The other piece, what is really happening when we talk about digitization of commerce, is really the new economy which is emerging. The platform players, the gig economy, which is really shaping how how banking services are being consumed and how payments are really being done. And if you couple this with the second big macro trend, which is the accelerated advancement in technology, I think that's really shaping the payments landscape in terms of it becoming more real time, okay, whether it is moving money from point A to point B, or even how you're consuming services from your banking partners, or even how the information is moving in the ecosystem. Two more macro trends which are really shaping up the corporate ecosystem and eventually the payments. One is the whole geopolitics-led shifting of global supply chains. Hitesh spoke about the corporate ecosystem is about buyers and suppliers, but it is not just restricted to the Indian borders. Today Indian corporates are looking to go global, and global corporates are looking to kind of enter India or really work with Indian corporates. So there is a shift in global supply chain happening for geopolitics reasons, for various other reasons, but that's a big opportunity as far as Indian corporates are concerned. And the last one is, we see day in and day out what regulators or the government in India is driving, but that's a global phenomena which is happening where both the regulators as well as governments are really driving transformation in the payment landscape, across the world. Whether you talk about real-time payments which are emerging pretty much in every country in Asia, Europe, and beyond, as well as organizations like SWIFT are driving standardization through ISO. So these are the macro trends which probably are not so visible when we talk about the retail payments, but they're definitely something which really impact, I would say, positively, more often than not, the whole corporate ecosystem and eventually how the payments are really happening in this ecosystem.
Thank you. I think all of you touched upon very relevant topics, whether it's corporate payments playing catch up, whether it's defining what the ecosystem players are, and some of the global trends as we become more globalized and combined as an economy or as a world. So let me pick up one of the first things that we spoke about, and Paritosh, if I can start with you. Eventually for corporate payments to get more digital, more integrated, we also need the corporates to be ready for it. How are expectations of corporates changing from banks on this entire payment evolution? What kind of offerings are they looking for? And what are the implications for you as a banker from that?
So, Neha, I would divide the corporates into three categories. Very small or MSME. They normally come to bank's website or a bank's platform and do it. The second category is, and those are maybe simpler operations, they'll just make a payment or have a collection, etc. So largely mobile dominated operations. The second category, or sometimes they'll go to the web. The second category who will come on a platform, they will have multiple requirements such as LC issuance, some remittance, domestic, offshore, bank guarantee issuance, etc. Account services. So they'll come on a bank's platform. Again, these are mid-sized corporates, maybe SME and mid-market, and then large corporates have their own ERPs. They do not want to come to the bank's platform. They want bank to go to their platform. They say, you come to my ERP, I will make the payment directly from my ERP, you pick up, so you have to connect through APIs. I think the critical part and where the system is moving is all larger corporates who have a much larger share in the volume of the transactions, they expect much more sophistication, much more resilience, much faster turnaround time. The speed is becoming critical. They also expect us to have proper risk management systems because as we improve technology, get more new products and new applications, it is also open to a lot more risks. So the systems have to be risk mitigation and fraud prevention is the key. So we have to take care of all of these corporate requirements, as I said.
And how do you make money in the process if you have so many?
Well, we pray in addition to giving. So I think the key is, for corporates it is critical. No one will expect that they will leave money idle. It has to be, we have to provide better service. initially there will be a larger cost of providing these services, but we need to work in partnership with fintechs. There are a lot of regulations which apply to banks, but maybe fintechs are far more agile. Their ability to do a few set of transactions or provide systems are maybe superior. So it's a case where we need to work with fintechs, banks, fintechs and corporates and see that, and we need to, the wallet size has to increase, more number of corporates will come into the formal banking channels, and that's how, so the banks will make money by increasing the volume.
Fair enough. Siddharth, if I can jump to you, and we were chatting about this, that corporate expectations are increasing, but also the role of treasurer in a corporate is changing. And that's another place where they want banks to support. Like Paritosh said, there is no idle money that is left. There is more expectation of seamless transaction. So how are you seeing the role of treasurer changing and therefore the role of banks in supporting them in their strategic objectives?
No, thanks, Neha. I think it's a very relevant question to delve upon. So I'll probably connect it to the macro trends I was talking about. Okay, so essentially with all that happening in one's ecosystem, what it is leading to is either a corporate is looking to leverage the opportunities, okay, which are present in the landscape, and it could be something which is a change in business model, okay, because with the digitization of commerce, what we are also seeing is that corporates are going D2C. So traditional corporates are actually going direct to consumer. So there are business models which are changing. Corporates are looking to enter new markets, okay, from a globalization perspective. So with that happening in the ecosystem, what we have clearly seen is that from a point in time where finance and treasury functions used to be support functions, okay, really looking after just risk management, making sure that your cash flows are taken care of and finance is available, they've become far more strategic, okay, because they have to really enable the change which the corporate is trying to achieve when it comes to their own business growth and leveraging the opportunities which are available in the landscape. Okay, I'll probably illustrate this with an example. Okay, we have a client, okay, an auto company, okay, and traditionally we've seen auto companies deal with dealers, distributors. That's really what their supply chain is. But they decided to go D2C. Imagine a auto company going D2C. Now, the whole paradigm shifts here for a treasurer, okay, who's kind of dealing with probably a very different pattern of their cash flow, a very different set of counterparties. They are now dealing with end consumer directly. So their cash flow changes, the solutions which they now need, okay, to be able to do their day-to-day engagement with the buyer completely change. And as a finance or a treasury function, they are supposed to make that change as well to support the strategic growth or make that change in model successful for that particular corporate. So that's what we are seeing, when it comes to the role of treasurer. Now, in terms of what it means for us as banks, okay, and probably I'll not comment any further on whether we make money or not. Basically, but probably just to maybe get the comment put forth on that one. Absolutely, if you look at payments on a standalone basis, okay, and floats on a standalone basis, yes, you will have these challenges because efficiency is the name of the game. But I think if you look at a corporate holistically, okay, as a relationship, with a lot changing and with they also doing a lot more, and I'm literally talking just for Indian corporate, there are a lot more opportunities for banks to partner with them and support them on various aspects. Okay, and as a relationship, it's always a win-win for both the banks and the corporate. Now, coming to what then banks, what the treasurers expect of banks. I think one, they expect the bank, apart from obviously making their, the whole usual traditional products and services to be delivered to them, but actually act as a strategic advisor or a partner. Now, it could be, there are so many emerging technologies which are there. The business models are changing. how do they really leverage those technology in the context of the business they are in? Okay, because not every technology may be relevant to the business and the model which they want to follow. So how do you really help them really leverage? So one example could be every corporate today is looking at having a data strategy, because corporates, given the evolving, ever-changing world, they're looking for real-time data and analytics tools. They're looking for cash flow, or better cash flow forecasting solutions. Okay. So that's one aspect, which they then expect banks to kind of partner with them and provide them. And again, I'm going back to the fact, because again, being representing a global bank, when they're looking to expand beyond the borders of India, okay, that's where they again seek that assistance to navigate in terms of how do they really expand beyond the borders, how do they deal with new counterparties or counterparties which are global in nature. So these are some of the aspects which they expect from their banking partner.
Absolutely. So Hitesh, now let me come to you. Different business models, different expectations, different technologies. From your vantage point, you've actually seen, and you made an offer for people to innovate. I think you are seeing a lot more innovation in the role that you are playing. What are some of the new things that you're seeing both in domestic payments, cross-border payments, and where are you most excited from the tech space?
So I think, we've been kind of trying to, accord, as I mentioned, in each of the subsets, right? Whether it is employees, ecosystem within corporate, or, vendor suppliers, some of the stuff we are doing, like, we partnered with a, startup, Refine, right? They do early wage access. So today, as an employer, they have a headache of, managing advances, to the employees, right? You pay salaries at the end of the month. In between, if an employee wants advance, what do you do? So, they have, kind of plugged into the, HRMS systems of the, corporate. And basis the salary due, you can actually avail that salary from them. And on the due date, you deduct it from their, at source, from the salary payment. And then, you repay it, right? Another, entity which we partnered with, so one of the, mutual fund, large mutual fund, they have, launched through WhatsApp accepting the, SIPs. So we integrated at the WhatsApp level PG, and, we are also able to not only get the payment, but then, provide them the entire reconciliation also. Then, another startup, I would say, SwirePay, where one of the large electricity distribution company in, southern India, they had the challenge where, the consumers used to make payment. The billing system in the payment system were not integrated, right? So they kind of created a recon module between the billing system and the, payment. Payment can come through POS, payment can come through your PG, right? But you need to have an immediate recon and real-time update to the customers, right? So they kind of, we partnered with them, provided this solution to that electricity distribution company, and now many more, distribution companies are adopting it. Another interesting, startup we partnered with is Arteria Technologies. They are one of the leading players in, supply chain solutions. So when as a corporate, you have your huge set of dealers, distributors, you need a communication channel with those dealers and distributors, and everybody needs to be on the same platform, so that as a corporate, I know what are the inventory levels, what is selling on the market, what is not selling, how much is the dead stock, and also, I also want my dealers and distributors to become more efficient. I want them to get, a right amount of capital at, a cheaper cost of funding. So if they are efficient, that efficiency flows across the system. So there again, we have created a layer on top of their, supply chain ecosystem, where any of the vendor suppliers, they want to take finance on a click of a button, they can actually, avail that. Another example I'll give you is one of the, company called My Classboard, where, they provide ERP to the schools, right? They have 4,000 plus schools on their platform. So what we did is, on the ERP, we created a payment layer, a lending layer, for teachers, students, and all those stuff. So I think, the way one should think about it is that, one, how do you make, very, very less efforts, on the side of the corporate? Can you, I think, give them comfort that, I like what Paritosh mentioned, right? That they don't want to come to our portal and we don't want to push them, right? They are happy from their ERP. If they are making a payment, the payment should be done from their ERP. Journal entries should be automatically passed on. Reconciliation should be done. And to, not only for the, corporates, Paritosh, we have also a startup called Open, which works at the, SME level, and providing them this entire stack where it is end-to-end stack in terms of payment, recon, everything, where, and then you can have a lending also on the same stake, right? I mean, and it is like, we are happy people are using that and people are not coming to our, portals like our internet banking portal or our mobile apps. It's okay. Wherever customers are happy and they find it convenient, one should think, from the customer's perspective, right? So I think these are the couple of things, which we will try and see. Wherever there are problem statements, how do we address those problem statements? And the list is long. I can go on and go on. One of the large port operators, had a problem in terms of they have a huge queue when people come at the port. All the truckers, all the drivers, they have to wait. And here we have a fast tech, at our tolls, and we quickly pass on through. But at that port there was nothing like it. So we actually implemented those terminals and entire payment system and provided them with the QR, automated QR, and now and there are no queues and it works seamlessly. Right? Yeah. So I have many more examples, but idea is to kind of understand the problem statements, work around it, and create a solution, and then that solution can become a a standard for that particular industry.
Yes. No, perfectly put. I think, like you said, from education to employees to port authorities, you gave us a whole set of examples. Paritosh, if I come back to, like you said, and Hitesh mentioned the same thing, that corporates don't come to us, we need to go to the corporates. But, when that we gets defined, it's a mix of multiple teams. It's the corporate banker, it's the technology team, it's the payments team, it's the Fintech who we are partnering with, sometimes it's the SME retail business. How do you go as one org or one team to the corporates?
No, I think everyone is getting complex, including banks. There are multiple teams. We have product teams, we have coverage teams, so effectively what we realize that as the corporates are growing in size and they become conglomerates, there are multiple people you need to deal with at the corporate end. So, and they also do not want someone will come as a coverage along with him, 2 people will come for trade, 2 people will come for cash. So they want to deal with the right person. So we have defined that there are experts on cash, there are experts on trade, there are experts on lending. They will go and so we kind of create an organization structure to suit the customer requirements when it comes to very large corporates. When you come to the smaller corporate, they are more relationship oriented. There is one person you need to deal with. Either he is the professional CEO or maybe the promoter. Then you need a different set of coverage. So it is basically between the SME and the large corporate. The models are different, but their expectations are remaining the same. They want everything, as Hitesh was mentioning. He wants not just banking, he wants reconciliation, he wants connected. He says, okay, I even want to book tickets, but I will come to your site. You connect me to a travel site where I will book tickets. Payment can directly go from my account. For smaller companies, they want even HRMS to be provided. So it's a depending on the size of corporate, you need to provide these services to them.
Fair enough. Maybe one last question from my side before I open up for the audience, and maybe 30 seconds from each of you. One, if going forward you wanted to make one ask either from the regulator or from the payment fintechs in the room of what will help make life easier both for the corporates and for you as bankers, what would that be?
I'll go first. I think my ask is only one. We should unbundle. When I say unbundle, today loan and other products are bundled together for various reasons. We should democratize product offering from loan. Someone who has a better technology may not be the largest balance sheet. Someone who has a right product may not be the biggest bank on the street or the largest capital. Unbundling is best for the customer.
Maybe I'll, speak on the fintech side, which I work with them very closely. So two advice, maybe, a recommendation. One is that focus on, the cyber security risk, data protection. That's becoming more and more important. It can actually, screw up your business model entirely if you are not on the right side of it. So that's one. Second, as founders, you have so many struggles in life, right? You juggle with hiring team, building products, building technology, and in somewhere in the realm of things, one forgets about compliance. And many people think like that we can build compliance later on. Let me first figure out getting business. But my suggestion is that build compliance as a part of the culture. As you deal with large institutions, I think, and then regulations are good. We are fortunate to have a regulator which is very proactive, supportive, and in lot many ways. So if you build compliance as a part of the culture, your navigation through the banking ecosystem, through the regulatory landscape would be far more easier.
So compliance can't be an afterthought. Siddharth?
Yeah, just in the interest of time, two things. One, just building upon what Hitesh said, I just want to touch upon this whole cybersecurity piece, because from fintechs, if their solutions are there, eventually they're being used by corporates, either directly or through banks. Just wanted to share, we had a client survey across 3,500 customers in South and Southeast Asia. More than 30% of them said that cybersecurity is one of their top agenda and top priorities. So I just wanted to further, reiterate the point what Hitesh made, that building robust solutions, secure solutions, compliant solutions is absolutely important and critical. The other thing which I would say from a fintech's perspective, and I think we started on that note, that while there's a lot of innovation and I would say some really world-class solutions have been put forth by fintechs when it comes to retail payments, but there's still a lot of opportunity and a lot of problem statements out there when we talk about a corporate payment ecosystem, and not just small MSP corporates, but the entire I would say ecosystem, which also includes mid-sized to large corporates. Okay, so I think that's something which I think some of the fintech should focus on, and also when they're doing it, to be able to eventually have that scale, I think they should, while they should make or build for India, but they should also look at how do they go global. How can they really take their solutions global? Because while some of the nuances on the retail side could be very unique to the country, but when it comes to problem statements of a corporate, okay, they are not that different when we traverse across geographies. So that's the other piece which I would say.
Okay, so hopefully some good ideas on unbundling, play the spectrum, domestic, global, small, medium, large, but do it always in a compliance first manner. We have 5 minutes, maybe I'll open up any questions from the audience. Yes, if you can get a mic up here, please.
कार्ड रीडर है
corporates needing the multiple kind of services, and it's better to have one kind of person which are specialized in that area. And Hitesh talked about the embedded systems. So one question, as Siddharth said, the banking is getting very complex. Like even though I'm tech savvy, we have this Gen AI system live where customers ask, मेरा height 6 feet है और मुझे 60,000 से कम का EMI चाहिए. Which car should I buy? It's so simple, and because the customer's context is very, very simple. And now we are at a juncture where it's like we have this AI banker live. Now Gen AI can be capitalized in a big way to simplify the things. So as Hitesh was talking, there are layers over layers. So how are you taking that Gen AI layer? Will it be a layer over the core banking embedded systems, or how are you taking it?
See, what's happening is, you have now multi-LLMs, right? And one needs to also make a choice, probably which one, whether you want to go Llama 3, Bloom, Palm, GPT-4, whatever, I mean. So there is also, a kind of choices which are emerging, when which, kind of LLM would be more suitable to a particular use case. Then comes, how do you fine tune that LLM basis your requirement, right? And then comes a layer of prompt engineering, and that's where a lot of people are working, right? I mean, I think building fundamental, or foundational LLMs, I don't think one should spend time and energy. There are multiple of them available, open source. So the way we look at it is that, for one is, can we have a multi-LLM strategy? You can't be tied up or married to a one LLM because this will keep evolving. So that's one. Second is, how do you build, a prompt engineering layer which works for different use cases, right? And the multiple use cases, like to give an example, working on automating the entire credit appraisal process, through one of the Gen AI startups, right? So there, but again, as I mentioned, there is a lot more in terms of how do you manage the data part of it also. You don't want your internal data to get exposed, to the outside world, right? So the way to, do in terms of architecture, one needs to orchestrate is about, you have an LLM, right, which is fine-tuned, and it has only one access to outside data, but there is no, it's a one-way traffic, it's not two-way traffic, right? So that's how we look at it, and there are several use cases we are kind of, building on that. Happy to chat with you, post this session.
Yeah, I have a, yeah. So, great session. First of all, congrats to all the panel. My name is Sunil Gupta. I represent Innoval Digital Solutions, and we have connected a lot of corporates with the banks and built connectors for a real-time transaction. Now, the biggest challenge which I want to have a view from the panelists is that there is a lot of heterogeneity in terms of their API framework, heterogeneity in terms of their encryption, decryption kind of method, and also at the enterprise side, there are a lot of workflow mechanisms. So, is there any international standard which is getting evolved, which will create a framework like what Siddharth spoke about, let's say cross borders kind of corporate transaction? Is there any unified corporate framework coming up which will help a company like us who are enabling the corporate to connect with the bank?
I'll probably take a stab at it. So let me answer in two parts. Is there a bank agnostic connectivity option available to corporates to connect with multiple banks? The answer is yes. It has been there for a number of years now. That's SWIFT. Okay, so in fact, corporates can connect with multiple banks through one single standard, which is SWIFT. Having said that, I think a lot has evolved, because when we talk about everything moving to real time, and it's not just the retail payments. We're not just talking about the UPI or IMPS in the India context. But even on the corporate side, your RTGS and NEFT today is real time. So the world has moved to real time, okay? And for those real time payments, you've got to have the information also moving real time. And which is why the best suited technology today for that is APIs. Now, unfortunately, okay, to answer your question now, there are no, I would say, industry-wide standards, when it comes to APIs and API connectivity. Possibly, that could be one area which may emerge. Somebody like an organization like SWIFT or probably any other multilateral organization takes that on. Okay, but I think whatever standard comes should again needs to be global in nature. So time will tell if somebody kind of picks that up. But while I appreciate the challenges which you kind of indicated, but I think API as a technology itself is so simple, okay, in terms of really implementing or integrating. It's literally plug and play, okay, that I don't think so it has really come as a big roadblock with regard to banks connecting with corporates or vice versa.
You had a question?
Hello, thank you very much. I think your panel It's very interesting. I have a few questions arising from it. The first is about the MSME. You talked about strategic advisory services for corporates, but I find, having been in banks many years, that MSME is the last segment that banks really think of from advising. The more inefficient they are, the better it is for the bank. So I just want to know what sort of changes you see is happening in that sphere, because they are the ones who really need the advice and the technology. The second is, who pays for the innovation? We talked about innovation, because being on the vendor side, I find banks squeeze vendors in terms of when they want to bring new innovation. So who pays for innovation? And last is really about the interoperability. Like telecom companies have done quite well in terms of, from a regulator push, to go ahead and make it interoperable for you to switch from one telecom company to the other. What about the banking? I feel there is some inertia for banks to really support that, because it just means that if they give bad service, then customer can quickly move away to a competition. Thanks.
Let me take the first one. I think the MSME and SME is the darling of all banks today. If you really see, and I can speak on behalf of most of the banks, the largest growth that we are seeing is in the asset growth is in lending to SME and MSME, and that's, I must also say that is probably the least profitable business, because they are all unrated, so one doesn't get the benefit of rating of corporates. Capital charge is higher, but that's the growth. And why banks are investing in this is, and banks are not just lending, it's a complete ecosystem banking that we provide to those segments, which includes their banking with their families, their vendors, their customers, their employees, everything. And some part of they don't really need advice like a large investment banker would be providing to a large corporate, but they need advice on a more some kind of transitioning new areas to invest, etc., which those same SME banker, because they deal with similar segments across industries and in the same sector with across multiple corporates, so they themselves provide those services. We are investing in these because when the country has to grow, the growth of the very large corporates will be much lower compared to the growth of this segment, and that's the reason banks are investing in this segment, is what I would say.
Yeah, any final thoughts?
So I think we have now account aggregation framework, right, where the sharing of data amongst the financial institutions, right, it happens on a click of a second. So there are a lot more things which are kind of moving towards that. Data belongs to the customer is the custodian of, we are the custodian of the data belongs to the customer, and at the will and at the wish of customer, data can be shared amongst the financial institution. So there are a lot more platforms and systems which are kind of becoming interoperable, right? We have launched a company called IPDIC, which is Indian Bank Digital Infra Company, and a lot of my banker friends, Shekhar is here, right? We build it together, and there again we are kind of building again a large trade network, completely interoperable, across the banks, not only domestic but global as well, right? So there are a lot more initiatives which are being worked upon on interoperability. Like for example, if you take NPCI itself, stands for collaboration and interoperability. These are if somebody asks me what is NPCI, I think those are the two things which come to my mind. Collaboration, where all ecosystem partners are working together, and the entire platform is interoperable. So I think, but yeah, some areas we still need to do a lot of work. So I think, but it will keep evolving. Yeah.
I just want to add on the first point of MSME, SME. While I can, let's say, from an HSBC perspective, we may come across as a global bank only for large corporates, but actually there's a lot of focus which is there on the SME, MSME. And one element which I just wanted to specifically talk about in terms of, you spoke about the advisory, how we are kind of helping them and supporting them. One area I will talk about is, let's say, ESG agenda or sustainability. Okay, with probably 50 to 60% of the export of India actually being done by MSMEs. Okay, they are now becoming more and more parts of global supply chains. And when we talk about anchor corporates, whether global corporates and in fact even large corporates in India, today the whole ESG agenda cuts across not just the anchor corporate, but even their vendor vendor ecosystem, and hence making sure that even the MSMEs are really thinking about ESG, okay, and how, depending on the industry they are in, what practices they need to follow, what are the industry best practices to be able to actually have a better ESG rating. And in fact, we have partnered with external rating providers on the ESG side, and we're working with MSMEs and corporates to even rate the entire supply chain. And when that is happening, that is actually something which helps MSMEs to be more competitive when they're becoming part of the global supply chains, which has a big ESG agenda playing out right now.
So on that note, I think we are over time. Thank you, panelists, for a very wonderful discussion and for being a great audience. Thank you so much. Hopefully you found this interesting.